The teenaged boy walked through the dark corridors. This place looked more like an abandoned office building than somewhere that children were supposed to have wanted to play, no matter how much time had passed. Is that why his friend had said it was so spooky? Because it looked like a boring call center? Maybe that would be scary for a kid who was expecting something like a McDonald's play place, but he was an experienced urban explorer. It would take more than some old office furniture to frighten him. Wait, what was that? He turned his flashlight to point down one of the darkened halls. There, down at the end. What is that? Is it looking at him? Boo! He jumped in fear and turned to see his friend, the girl who had brought him here, standing behind him. He was embarrassed. Here he had been bragging to himself about how brave he was, only to get scared by a simple boo. Once his friend was done teasing him, he asked if she had seen that thing at the end of the hall, but she didn't know what he was talking about. When he shined his flashlight back down the hall, nothing was there. It must have just been his imagination. Oh well, that wasn't the direction they were going. There were more interesting things to see in this strange abandoned building. The two went through a set of doors and found themselves in what looked like a business reception area. It was all very normal, boring even, sterile, like a doctor's office waiting room. But with one exception, all over the walls were images of crudely designed cartoon characters. Banban's kindergarten, said the sign on the wall. Is this what she wanted him to see? An old daycare? Why was this supposed to be scary? Who is Banban? Asked the boy. An evil smile formed on the girl's face. She was going to tell him why this place was so scary. She was going to tell him the story of the Garten of Banban. I think they stink. This was the third toy company he had been to, and at each one the reaction was the same. No one seemed to like his concept at all. Amateurish, ugly, looks like they were designed to scare children, not amuse them. These were just a few of the comments he had gotten, along with some that were so mean he didn't even want to think about them. As the inventor was escorted out of the toy executive's office, he wondered what he would do next. It seemed like no one would help him make his dream of bringing Banban and his gang of friends to life. Toy companies didn't want him. Neither did any of the children's TV shows. He was out of options. If he wanted Banban to live, he'd have to do it all himself. The inventor got to work right away. He'd have to build his children's empire from the ground up, and that meant starting at the very bottom of the ladder. It might not have been a line of dolls in every toy store in the country, but a children's daycare based around the Banban theme would be a great start. A place for children to learn and grow alongside their new favorite characters. Like a garden of Banban. No, a Garten of Banban, like a kindergarten. The inventor laughed at the pun he had come up with. How could this not be a hit? The inventor was right. It was a hit. Almost immediately, all the daycare slots filled up. Just like he had expected, kids really did love the collection of silly, colorful characters that decorated every wall, and the parents loved the focus on developing their child's creativity. Everything was perfect. Everyone was happy. Everyone, that is, except for the inventor. As he watched the joyful children play, all he could think about was the cruelty of those who had rejected him. And even though the children appeared happy, there was still something missing from his Garten of Banban. Then he realized what it was. The children loved these characters so much, he could see that plainly. But imagine how much more they would love them if they weren't just drawings on the wall, but real, living, breathing things that you could touch and play with. The inventor knew what he had to do. The newspapers soon reported on the strange string of kidnappings occurring all across the city. It seemed that lots of rich, successful business people were suddenly disappearing. The CEO of a toy company, a producer of cartoon TV shows, a popular children's book author. And those were just the start. The police were baffled. The only thing they could find these people had in common was that they all worked in industries related to children's entertainment. But otherwise, there were no clues, no leads, nothing to go on at all. The police were hard at work trying to solve the case of these mysterious disappearances, and the inventor was hard at work too. He paced around the room full of cages containing his victims. He mocked them, asking them if they felt powerful now that they were under his control. He asked if it made them feel big when they made fun of his Banban idea. Did they think it was funny to make fun of the idea of a dying child? The idea of his only son, whose last wish was that Banban would live on after he was gone? No, they didn't think it was very funny now at all. They looked scared, terrified really. They begged him for help, to show mercy, to let them go. Oh, he'd let them go. Soon they'd be free to leave their cages, but not the way they were now. The inventor soon revealed to his prisoners the real reason why he had brought them here. This wasn't supposed to be his job. His true life's work and passion had been in genetics research, gene mutations to be specific. But after his son died, he devoted himself to making his child's final dream come true. Now, though, he'd get to blend these two aspects of his life together. He pulled the sheet off of a machine, his transmogrifier. The university hadn't understood his research either, just like his prisoners hadn't. They were all the same, no perspective, no vision. But now, no one could tell him no. One by one, the inventor pulled his captives out of their cages and placed them in the transmogrifier. On one side, a person would be strapped down, and on the other, the machine would analyze what they were supposed to become, transmogrifying their very genetic makeup to turn them into something that at least outwardly resembled what was on the page. The CEO of the toy company screamed as the machine went to work. Sparks flew and the room filled with smoke as the CEO's body was changed. He could feel his DNA unravel at a molecular level and be reformed. His body was compressed down, his head flattened into his shoulders. When the smoke from the machine cleared, there was no longer a man strapped to the table, but a small purple creature. "How do you feel?" asked the inventor. The purple creature opened its eyes and smiled. Soon, all of the inventor's prisoners had been turned into living versions of the same Banban characters that decorated the Garten's walls. The children couldn't have been happier, and so too, at long last, was the inventor as well. Finally, all his dreams and the dreams of his son were coming true. The characters of Banban's Garten were real. They were really, really real. Even more people signed up to bring their children there. The parents couldn't believe how lifelike the characters were, yet they couldn't see any zippers or seams in the costumes. They must be robots, they thought. And they basically were. Along with the genetic destruction of their bodies came the destruction of their minds as well, except for one small glimmer of memory that still remained. The residents of the Garten of Banban got together one night, and through crude gestures, they managed to come up with a plan. The next day, after the children had all gone home, they surrounded the inventor. One of the creatures wrapped him up in its orange tentacles and threw him on the back of the one that looked like a bird. They took him down to the lowest basement floor, the place where the inventor kept his special machine. They ignored the inventor's screams and placed him in the transmogrifier. On the other side, they placed the drawing of the one character who hadn't yet been created, on account of him being so big that even the inventor thought no one could survive being transformed into him. But now, it was time. Time for Jumbo Josh to live. The two teenagers continued on through the abandoned daycare facility, the girl piloting a drone she had found just ahead of them. So what had happened to him and the rest of the Banban creatures? "Who cares?" replied the girl. It was only a story. He didn't really believe it, did he? They came to a room with a large dark opening in the middle of the floor. They shined their flashlights into the darkness, but couldn't see the bottom. There was a lift nearby that still appeared to be functioning, though. Or maybe the story wasn't just a story. Maybe it was all real. "You think this machine is really down there?" asked the boy. There was only one way to find out. The pair pressed the button to activate the lift and began to descend into the darkness. The boy looked noticeably nervous. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all. He didn't believe the story, but he could never be too sure. After all, who knows what could still be waiting in the darkness below the Garten of Banban.